You straight up cuckooed that dude, bro. Oh my God.
You've got all your Charger gear on because
I look good. I got big energy every day. Let's go!
And he is decked.
Blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
That's right.
You have to love what you're seeing on tape if you're a Chargers fan, especially for the future with Justin
Herbert on the move and throws and touchdown.
Well, good ball, Herb.
Players, coaches, staff, fans, together we can create something truly special.
Stay tuned for some good content.
welcome back, everybody, to the Charger Chat. I'm your co-host, Wolldog, with my two buddies, Kev Hug and Duggan.
Hi, Wolldog. How the hell are you?
I'm doing pretty good. And let's not forget Kyle, the coach, Duggan.
Who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, we
prelude to a later segment.
That's right. Yeah, there's a little teaser, folks, to what we have to talk about today. Just a little taste. But yeah, just coming in a little soft. You know, we're in the off season right now. I'm not too excited. I just want to keep it level, folks. Keep it real. Keep it for you guys. So thank you for joining us here on another episode of Charger Chat. Happy to have you. Not a ton to talk about this week, but as always, we're going to make it fun and shamelessly positive.
So thanks for coming. That was the end of the episode. That's all we got for today. So see you later.
Don't forget to bolt up. Any squad, any place. Okay, bye.
JK.
Just
we got a whole
kidding,
episode
folks.
for you guys.
Yeah. It was just recently announced that the Chargers have announced their entire 2021 coaching staff, which was pretty exciting to see everybody set in place now. We know who is going to be playing, or coaching, I should say, in which position. And Kevin busted out the calculator for this and did some math.
All right. If you remember the conversation we had when we were looking at these coaches, and I said I didn't want a coach that was younger than me.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
and that also stands for the overall.
And how old are you, Kevin? How old are you?
I'm 36 going on 37.
He is 36 going on 37.
No, so here's the thing. That also applies to the staff as a whole. So when you put all of the coaches together, what is that average age? And let me tell you.
Quality control, interns, all of it included.
The whole
What's the
shebang.
average?
The kit and caboodle, if you will. And we just made it, guys. We just made it by the hair of our teeth. The average age for our coaching staff, if it was embodied in one person, that person would be 37 years. 0.26.
Unbelievable.
That's how old that person would be.
That is insane.
We have the craziest. We got 20-year-olds. We got some early 30-year-olds. Like our oldest coach is Giff Smith, the only carryover from the last coaching staff. He's 52. Like this is some like fresh shit, guys. Fresh coaches.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, Kyle makes a great argument for why we would want a coach that would be older and has been around and has the experience, you know, given what the talent that we have with Herbert and some of these guys. But I don't know, man, there's something kind of exciting about having all of these younger guys that have a fresher perspective on the game just from how much it's changed.
I'm going to give a shout out to our dad, coach, the original OG coach, Duggan, Dave. We were talking about it the other day and he was saying like, the coaching staff is young and it's not that they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
They're good coaches, but they're quote unquote, as he said, naive. And I may be saying that, I hope I picked up what he said correctly, but the idea is that they don't come into a game with, back in 2002 in the AFC divisional round, this happened. So now I can't do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, you don't come in with all these biases that you've already experienced. You just, you show up and you prepare as best you can with the knowledge you have, and you don't bring all this old bias of this quarterback, when he talked back to me, I had to put him in line, you know, like I had to do it this and that way because I didn't do it back in 1985. Mm-hmm. So it was an interesting take, and I like it. I mean, it's a different athlete now. I mean, you can be Deshaun Watson and you're in control of your own destiny. You sign a $100 million contract, and the next year you can be like, nah, I'm out. Sorry. I know I signed it, but I'm not playing for you anymore. It's a different athlete. You have to evolve, and a young staff only is going to be able to be able to keep pace with that even more. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Before we proceed, Justin Herbert's not the only one that cooks tri-tip. I have one on my Traeger right now, so I have to step aside for a second to go put it back on. And I will be right
God.
back. Kevin
Hope
and
it's a
Adam, enjoy.
victory brisket.
Always a victory brisket.
Victory tri-tip.
Victory tri-tip. Finally, we get together, Adam. We can do what we always wanted.
Oh my God.
Podcast together without Kyle. But one of the things that made total sense is that, we always talk about culture. We always talk about how, we need to create a new culture. We need to do this. We need to do that. We are going to the umpth degree on creating a new culture. This new culture is 37 years old.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
I kind of like it. There's one thing of having any kind of empirical experience as an older coach with what has happened in the game, but I think younger talent are able to, younger coaching staff, I should say, are able to absorb that same amount of information. They can review tape, they can look at schemes, they can look at how guys run their plays, and still get that information and share it with the team and build a plan going forward. So I one of the things that we have to talk about today is looking at an interview with Brandon Staley and talking about the coaching staff. And it was really insightful as far as some of the different things that he was saying, as far as what he was looking for in the coaching staff, and looking for guys that can teach as well as coach. And I found that just kind of an interesting concept, especially given how young this staff is. I think they're able to relate a lot more with the players, and I think they're able to deliver the same level of performance that we're expecting to get from an older coaching staff. If anything, I think this is kind of inspiring to get a coaching staff that is young, that can grow with the team. I think these guys can grow with the players. They can maintain a relationship with these players and grow with them without it ever necessarily being a concern. I mean, age really shouldn't ever be a concern regardless, but it's just, I don't know. I think they're able to connect a lot better with them.
I think there's an element of and I can't remember where I heard this, and this might be an inception moment too, where I thought I came up with this idea, but I don't think I did. But basically, the new age of coaching is you're able to digest information much quicker. It's not the old days of an overhead projector with a laminate and one of those eraser pins. You're able to download entire games, evaluate things, and if anything, you need a sharper mind to calculate and get all this information and come up with a game plan. So
come up with a plan and relay that information as well, not just come up with a plan. I can explain this information to somebody who's just, the age gap is just smaller, and therefore, I mean, there's just at least a little bit more relatability to it. But you're right, this is a game now where guys are holding Microsoft Touch surfaces on the sideline, they're not holding clipboards and getting printouts of
exactly.
Yeah. They've got technology is amazing.
Look at it this way, Mike. Is it Kyle on an iPad? Who's better? Coach Dave, the OG, on an iPad, or Kyle, the new G, on an iPad?
I can already hear him screaming at technology.
No comment.
He's just Kevin, I can't get it to turn on.
What the hell is this thing? Wi-Fi? I don't know what that is.
What's a Wi-Fi?
It is a good example, though. So one of the biggest attributes that I brought to a coaching staff was my ability to work with technology. And I'm not the most advanced when it comes to, most of the time with Kevin and Adam, I'm having to ask them. Yeah. But there's this online software called Huddle where you upload all your game film. You can break it down. You can add notes to each play. You can diagram it. You can create your whole playbook online. I was able to do all that. And all the other coaches on our staff were they were almost overwhelmed to the point of I'm not going to really look into it, and that probably is an aspect of these older school coaches,
right?
They're I've won games without it, so why do I need it? Or and the idea of Staley always says he wants to be on the leading edge of analytics and all the technology and everything that's out there that you can utilize. I don't know about you guys. I never heard Coach Lynn talk about that at all.
No, we didn't have an analytics department. We didn't have one.
No.
It definitely lends to this younger uprise of coaches of, hey, why not use it if we have it? If it's good for nothing, then we won't use it. But let's get the data at least and see what we can do with it. And hopefully the data leads to less injuries for the Chargers.
And also I wanted to ask, how's your meat?
Meat solid. Had to crank up the heat. Get it seared real nice right now.
Good.
Oh God. And I did a little going back a little bit. The 37-year-old hypothetical coach. If you put them all together, just something fun, just a little tidbit of information.
Yes.
1984. Do you know what some of the top songs in 1984, which would be the year of this 37-year-old coach? You want a little?
I was just born too, so I'm curious.
Footloose, kick off your Sunday shoes. Kenny Loggins.
Jeez.
Van Halen, Jump was one of the top songs, and Ray Park Jr. Bustin' Makes Me Feel Good. Do you know what I mean? Creepiest line ever in any song of all time. Bustin' makes me feel good. Whoa, Ray, calm down, Ray Park Jr. Top movies
TMI,
84
Ray
real quick.
Park.
Thanks, Ray Park. Top movies 84 were Ghostbusters, Footloose, Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, and The Terminator. That was the year.
That's a good movie
hypothetical. These are just a dope ass year for movies, and that was
a good movie.
Yeah, good year. So that's what we're looking at in our coaching staff. That's the year that that hybrid coach would have been born and what would have been out. So Bustin' makes me feel good.
Bustin' makes me feel good. So excellent. Thanks for for deep diving into the ages of our coaching staff there, Kev.
You're welcome.
We won't list them all off, but Chargers, if you take a look at any of their social media pages, Twitter, Instagram, I'm sure you've seen the names of some of these guys that we're bringing in, and it's exciting. There's some good names on here, and great to see Gift Smith coming back. That was one of the things that stood out to me in the Brandon Staley interview was mentioning Gift by name and how a lot of these guys would learn from Giff as far as other coaching staff that he had been with. So good that we were able to retain him.
You guys think Joey Bosa went in and was like, "Nah, you're not getting rid of my guy"?
Like, don't you do this
You
shit.
think he pulled the just power move?
He
He's
might
like,
have
"Nah,
had
this
a
is my
say in
guy."
it, man. I mean, if he
highest paid player on the team.
yeah, like we might want to just hear him out. Let's just hear him out.
Hey, if you cut him, my dad will break your kneecaps, and he might bite one off on the way.
Sleeping with the fishes, old school style.
Yeah, so it's some good looking names out there. Interesting in the Staley interview when he was talking about it. Like one of the things that I was curious about, and one of the guys like started talking about it, but he didn't quite get too in depth with it. Like a lot of these guys, we were able to make the connection as far as how Staley would have interacted with these guys or how he would know some of these guys. But he made mention in the interview is like some of these guys we didn't really know anything about. So my question would have been like, so what about these guys stood out? Like, what was your process of learning about these guys that you didn't know anything about? So maybe we'll find a little bit more of that out as the off season continues. We've still got months to go.
One thing I will say is Daniel Popper, I listened to him on the round table that the Chargers podcast puts out. And he had some really cool insight into the different coaching staffs offensively that they brought in, like different coaches they brought in, and how they're all from a lot of the most like progressive offenses in the league. They brought in guys from the Niners, from the Rams. And it was just a cool, interesting take that sometimes when I looked at who Staley was hiring, I was like, what the hell? Like, how do you have a connection with this guy? What made you want to bring this guy in? And it seems like he was kind of piecing together, since he has an offensive background, but he's not an offensive guy. He's like, let me get as many different, but similar offensive schemed guys together so they can have diversity, but be able to speak the same language. Also, I got to go flip the meat. I'll be right back.
All right.
Go check your meat.
Kyle will be flipping meat.
Oh my God. What a timing. What a situation. Like, guys, we have podcasts.
We record the same time every week, and yet
goddamn meat.
That's
man.
all right. We know where his priorities lie.
Meat.
When the key positions came out as far as offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and special teams coordinator, we could see those connections. And so the farther down we go that list, we weren't able to see the connections. But what I took away from that interview was that he was the one that had input on these guys. He picked these guys for a reason. It wasn't just, you've got 5 guys to pick from. Which one do you want? At least he sold it as, I wanted these guys for a reason. And, we'll find out as the season, or the off season, I should say, continues. And once the season begins, we'll see how it all comes together. This feels like a real experiment. as far as what, like, we don't know what the results could possibly be, but it's exciting all the same because this is all it's all fresh talent. These are all new guys. It's going to be a fresh team when we see them come out next season. You know, we've got the key positions filled, but we still don't know exactly who all's going to be around. So I'm really excited. I'm shamelessly positive. I want this to turn out well. But some of the quotes that came out from the Staley interview that stood out to us, it's been a competitive process, but I think we've done it the right way. And I think it's reflected in the diversity of the staff. It was designed that way. You can't take this as far as you can take it with one way of thinking. That's not going to happen. We want to be at the cutting edge of a lot of things, how you teach, how you lead, how you scheme, how you evaluate. We wanted that competition of ideas. And the only way to get that is if you have a diverse background with your staff. And I think we've been able to accomplish that. I mean, it speaks to the hiring of all these guys.
Yeah, if that was his goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the different offensive minds that they're bringing in here. And, you know, it's exciting. It's just exciting that he's talking about the analytics and he's talking about these very simple things that us Charger fans haven't really seen because coaches haven't really been into it. No. So I think a lot, you know, and a lot of the analytics, a lot of the stuff people are saying now is like, most of the time you should go for it on fourth down. Like there's just a lot of things that old school coaching wouldn't really allow for that these new analytics are. I think we're going to see some the things we usually gripe about could be a thing of the past.
We'll have to find some new things to gripe about.
We gripe about a lot of things either way they go. So
what are you talking about? We're still going to gripe. Positive. Come on now.
The fan base will still gripe. Us here on the Charger Chat podcast, shamelessly positive.
Always, 100%.
No shamelessly positive. Actually, you should listen to when you left to get your meat the second time. We did kind of gripe a little bit, but
I had my headphones on still. I heard you guys talking smack.
Okay. Oh, you sneaky bitch.
Bluetooth. It's a hell of a thing.
Bluetooth
it's technology, Kevin. This kid.
Hey,
this Kyle
cutting
Duggan,
edge.
He knows how to use
front
it.
line.
Like you said, dude, this guy's got Bluetooth
Bring in the
down.
I'm cutting edge, dude. This is Bluetooth. No wires.
Where's the wires? I don't see the wires. What is this? What's the password?
One of the other quotes Staley had on offense specifically, our goal was to provide Justin and all these players on offense. We wanted to provide them with a coaching staff that was at the cutting edge of pro football, just like we were talking about. Guys that come from some of the premier offenses in the league that have shared vision of how we want to play and that can bring a variety of backgrounds, both from the pro game and the college game, to combine forces and to really create something unique. And I think that was our goal. Our mission statement is to really take this offense to something new. And I think we've really been able to do that. Mission statement, like, you don't hear that. You didn't hear anything about that from Coach Lynn.
No.
That's corporate talk right there. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we got to talk about something that, okay, so the Coach Lynn saying he's a backup for a reason. Like, I skated over that quote when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, you have to say that. Like, he doesn't want to, like, blow smoke up Justin, like, blah, 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 blah. Now you have a coach coming in like, I'm going to build this whole organization and this offense around this one piece.
Mm-hmm.
Like the polar change, like opposite of the like coaching style. I just don't know how it's going to, what's the effect?
It's old school tough love versus new school. Let's talk about our feelings. I think that's the difference. I think that's what we're getting into a little bit.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I think you know, let's get on the same level as people, and not this guy in the high tower, you know, telling his coaches you're not going to play. You know, we saw it on the Hard Knocks. You're not going to play for Lynn if you're going to be blocking like that. Lynn was at a different thing. I don't think Staley's doing that kind of thing with this team right now.
I don't think he is either. But I mean, it's hard to not say something like that when Justin Herbert became the offensive rookie of the year. You can't not say that now. Like,
but then he didn't. But he kind of doubled down on it, though. That's the thing. He kind of kept going with that kind of thought of like not naming a starter right away, not like he was still kind of taking jabs at our boy.
I 100% agree. Lynn never really, he very rarely, I think there was maybe one or two sound bites of Lynn ever like paying Justin any kind of compliment. Everything else was just kind of like, we'll see.
But did he ever pay anyone a compliment? That's just like, that was his coaching style.
Really.
He was old school, tough love. Look, you're never going to be perfect. I'm going to go critique the heck out of your tape and I'm going to find something wrong. Like that was just his mindset. And I'm not saying that's wrong or bad. I'm just saying it's such a different coaching
than what we have now.
style than what it looks like you have now. Like Staley, the way he talks about Derwin James, he's fallen in love all over again. And he talks about building everything all around Justin. It's like, it's just such a polar different coaching philosophy. So I'm sure the guys are going to love it. Like as a player, you want to hear, like you want to be told that you're doing good, especially to the press.
Yeah.
But it's just, you wonder like, okay, how is this going to translate to W's? Hopefully a lot more, but you just never know.
I wonder if that's part of it. I mean, the way you say that, like it feels like one is a confidence builder and the other one is just like, we've got a job to do and we're going to do it. And I'm going to tell you when you're not doing good. And when you are doing good, then you're doing your job.
Right, exactly. That's what we got to wait. We got to wait for. We got to wait for a bad game and see what that press conference looks like.
Yeah.
Also, intermission for Coach Kyle.
I'm going to meat takes priority. Yeah, it feels like one builds confidence and the other is an old school, I'm the dad or I'm the boss. You have a job to do. When you do your job, then why would I pay you a compliment for doing your job? That's what you're supposed to do. Like, I feel like, I don't know. I think that's an interesting take. I don't know. I think it's going to build more confidence. I don't know. There's something interesting about when you say that, Kyle, as far as like Anthony Lynn never really paying a compliment to anybody. When Brandon Staley is singing these guys' praises, it feels like at least they know that they're doing well as opposed to like a silent treatment. Now, granted, we don't necessarily see what goes on behind the scenes. We're only privy to interviews or at least in his last offseason, a bit of Hard Knocks as far as what was going on.
Well, to that point, if you're going to do it behind the scenes, not on the mic, why would you not do it on the mic?
Fair point.
Like if you're going to go behind the scenes and say like, oh no, Justin, I had to say that. Like, what's the purpose of saying something to the media that you're not?
What are you
lying to us? God damn it!
Are you ashamed of me, Coach? What do I got to do to make you happy?
Love me.
And maybe there's a valid explanation to that. I just like, to me, it's like if you're going to go say something to the media and then go back and be like, no, Justin, I just had to say that to act like I don't like you. Like, what does that serve?
Because I got to be the tough guy. I'm the tough coach.
Yeah.
Like, he's got an image to uphold.
I think that's just him, though. I think that's his thing. I think that's why it's so interesting to have this new coach.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very interesting to see how the players respond.
Yeah, it's so different from what we've experienced and also comparatively to some of the other coaches that we've seen get hired this offseason. I mean, it feels like we got the right guy. Like we won't know until the season starts, but at least this guy is saying all the things that we want to hear. So
sure,
time will tell. But one of the last quotes we have here from the Staley interview on defense, for fans out there, outside linebackers are really edge players. Those guys are edge defenders. Inside linebackers, they're behind the football. So whether you're playing like a 3-4 structure in base, which we don't play very much, that grouping we play like 20 or less % of the time. Most of the NFL is 3 wide receivers, and most of the time you're in 5 DB groupings. I'll be honest with you. When I heard him say this, I was like, I could picture Kyle saying the same thing.
Yeah, totally.
So if you're in a 5 DB orchestration, those edge players become defensive ends, and your defensive ends in the 3-4 base would become defensive tackles. You really got to break it down to inside players and edge players, and then you have a bunch of DBs that kind of do a lot of jobs, and then inside linebackers play behind the ball. So 3-4 to me is a way your personnel is organized, but how that expresses itself on game day, what you actually activate, it's probably not going to look like a 3-4 at all. How you activate it is going to change week to week and season to season.
Making adjustments. You hear that, Craig? They're going to make adjustments.
Yeah. So I guess it's a lot of language. It's a lot of like football-ese, like, it's a lot of talk and it makes a lot of sense. So just to try to simplify it a little bit, a 4-3 and a 3-4 it just talks about the type of player you have on the field. But either way, you have 7 men in the box. So a 4-3, you have 4 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers. You still have 7 guys in the box.
Mm-hmm.
A 3-4, you have 3 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers. You still have 7 in the box. But what he's saying is most of the time when you're facing 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver sets, you're going to have what you call your nickel or your dime package, where you take off a linebacker and you bring on a defensive back. And now what you do to adjust to that is what he's talking about. He's like, look, if I take off a linebacker and I bring on a DB, I may also bump one of my defensive ends, quote unquote, down into a tackle position because I've now even lightened up even more on the backside because a linebacker is out for a DB. I need to stack the box a little bit more with some girth. So it's like, it's all about just personnel. No matter what, you have 11 guys on the field. Everyone basically runs the same coverages. It's just who's in those zones. So I think the 3-4 allows for more flexibility in the end. The 4-3 is a little bit more, it has a little bit more of a chokehold on what you can do. Whereas a 3-4 with 3 defensive linemen and 4 linebackers, you can kind of more easily rotate in and out. But to say, hey, we're a 3-4 defense and we're going to run 3 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers the whole game, it's just never going to happen with the way football is today. Everyone's going to be in. If you go into a nickel, you cannot have 7 guys in the box. You immediately have 6. If you're in a 4-3, you usually have 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers. So it evolves continually throughout the game. So how much you actually see it look like a 3-4, it'll probably be on 1st and 10, and occasionally here and there to catch them off guard. But yeah, that's the biggest thing that I think you take away from Staley's quote is that he's going to evolve to the team he's playing, and his defense will change and adapt to what he needs to stop.
You hear that, Craig? Making adjustments. Craig.
I think that was a great interview as far as talking about his coaching staff. I thought there were some interesting tidbits as far as the mention of like Gift Smith. That was one of the interesting things that he mentioned was that Gift Smith wanted to come back. And it like he was like, we're just happy that Gift Smith wanted to come back. And it made me wonder, like, okay, with all of these fresh coaches that we have, like, were there some guys that didn't want to be a part of this organization anymore or didn't want to deal with all of this new thought process and everything like that?
I think it's a beautiful marriage of like some and not. Like, yes to some of the coaches, like,
right.
And the other ones were like, okay, we weren't going to have you back anyways, or we're going to bring somebody else in. So I think that it kind of conveniently worked for Gift Smith in that sense. But like he said in his press conference was that he wanted people that wanted to be there. And I think you don't hear about that enough from coaches in the coaching tree and the coaching circle and cycle and how they move in and out of teams. It's like, this isn't just a 1-year step up thing. Like, he's on Front Street with everybody about what he is expecting. So there's no expectations of something that's not going to happen. So it's just kind of cool that he's even telling us about that. I'm learning more about how the coaches talk to his other coaches.
I'm trying to draw a parallel to what you do, Kev. I think that as a DP, like, you have your squad that when you have a big project or a big job coming up, you put together your squad, right? And they're pretty loyal to you, and they're like, yeah, whatever I'm doing, it's okay. I'll push that aside and I'll come work with you. That's what a coaching staff really is. And when you have loyalties to a coach and your coach gets fired, it's hard to be like, okay, yeah, see you later, Coach Lynn. Like, I was loyal to you and you took a shot on me and you're out, but I'm going to stay here with the new coaching staff. It's kind of a slap in the face to whoever was with you before.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different politics that go into wanting to stick around with the organization. And so you're basically cutting ties with whatever Anthony Lynn does. If you're like, yep, see you later, I'm going to stick around.
Interesting.
And to some people that's okay. Like, I'm okay. Like, my philosophical views don't line up with yours anymore. You go your way, I'll go my way, and I'll stay here with the Chargers. But there's a lot going on behind the scenes of, like, do I want to stick around? What does that mean for my future? What does that look like? Do my philosophies match up? Like, am I more of an old school coach that's not going to blow smoke up guys' butts just to make them feel good? There's a lot that goes on. So it's hard. It's hard. And that just goes to Staley's quote even more, that he wanted to be there. Like, he's like, no, I believe in this team. I see a future in this coaching staff, and I think that I'll be able to stick around and make a career out of being a Charger coach with this staff.
100%. I think that's what's so exciting about all of it, is that these guys, they all want to be here and they all bring something to the table. They all want to continue to coach as well as teach. Being a brand new coaching staff, these are all guys that our players haven't necessarily worked with before. Some of them might have, as far as like Whitmer, having experience with KJ Hill, but like, other than that, like there's all of these guys are fresh talent, so they're all going to have something to bring to the table. And Staley has seen something in these guys that he wants to be a part of this organization. So it's incredibly exciting. I think it was great, interview from Staley. Again, we don't have a lot to talk about this offseason, so when we have something like this, it's like we're going to grasp it and talk about it as much as we possibly can. Because outside of that, all we have to deal with are rumors right now. As we all saw, J.J. Watt got politely released from the Texans. So,
ooh, baby.
I mean, there's, I think I've heard like 12 different teams that J.J. Watt could potentially go to that he would be a great fit with, but one of them does happen to be the Chargers. So, Lightning Round podcast tweeted out the Chargers defensive staff should spend the next couple days putting together tape of Aaron Donald and Staley's scheme to send to Watt. It's time for a full court press. Wow.
Yeah, those guys are awesome. Yeah, like I completely agree. Like there's not many opportunities like this that ever come about. Like you're never going to run into a player, even though he's getting near the end of his career, he is still a force of nature. Like these guys usually retire on the team that drafted him, he's played like this. They're just so dysfunctional in Houston right now.
Right.
That this is a just crazy opportunity. And the fact that we're one of the teams with the best cap space right now, get creative. And it didn't seem like, money was at the front of his mind and what he needs to sign with the team. It's like he wants to win. So I think whoever he signs with, he thinks that gives him the best chance of winning a championship. So wouldn't that be cool? The vote of confidence if he jumped on the Chargers?
Man,
that'd be pretty.
In my head, that idea is awesome. But like in the back of my mind, like he's gonna be a Steeler. He's gonna be a Steeler.
I know.
His two brothers play for the Steelers.
They have no money. They have one of the worst teams in terms of what they have. They're cutting players.
You just said yourself that he doesn't care about money. He just wants to go win.
Well, they need to have some money. I'm talking about like they got to pay him something. You can't work for like Outback Steakhouse gift cards. Like I know the guy can eat, but
I think with the cap space going down, you're going to see a lot of 1-year deals. I think there's going to be a lot of these guys that are free agents that are going to sign a 1-year deal, go out and try to go to a team that's good and win some games, and then boost up your stock for next year when the cap goes back up. So I think that JJ Watt signs I don't know though. He's in the end of his career, but I think he signs a 1-year deal somewhere he thinks he can go win because he's never played anywhere else. The Texans is all he knows.
Right.
So you go somewhere, sign a 1-year deal, see if you like it, and then you do your extension, or you're like, nah, I don't like this, and then move on. I think wherever he goes is going to be a 1-year deal. That'd be so sweet if it was the Chargers.
That'd be insane.
Yeah,
that would be wild. A team that had J.J. Watt and Joey Bosa get out of town
with Linval in the middle. Yikes!
With a Staley run defense, that would just be that would be scary.
That's the thing right now is you have this like defensive wunderkind,
right?
That, could be a selling point to get him in. So we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, these are all rumors.
Not holding my breath, but that would be damn exciting.
That would be extremely exciting. So again, these are all just rumors, and because the Chargers are mixed in with some of these rumors, we got not too much to talk about, so might as well at least humor some of these rumors. Another one we kind of touched on a little bit last week was the Orlando Brown, possibly a trade for him. Baltimore apparently is looking for a first-round pick compensation. Yeah, I don't know that Orlando Brown is worth the first-round pick compensation.
I think for me, this is one of those things where I think this came up on the radar, and a lot of our fan base took that information and ran with it. And to know, he's a great player.
He's one of the top
he's going to get
linemen out there. Like, why wouldn't we?
Yeah,
gravitate towards that?
he's
So how is he not worth the first-round pick? If we're saying we're going to use our first-round pick on an offensive tackle, you have a proven guy that's done it in the league in a Pro Bowl level.
But he's a right tackle.
No, whole year he played left tackle for the Ravens, who went to the playoffs.
I don't think he played the full season. He stepped in for Stanley. But his whole point is that he's not. If you want your starting left tackle to be the guy, the Baltimore Ravens are ready to let him go because they're not going to have him start at left tackle.
They're not ready to let him go. They're demanding a first-round pick for him. They're not ready to let him go because they know he's a good talent.
No, they're going to give him the opportunity to go somewhere else. They're not just locking him down. The problem is he's not going to stay there because he wants to play left tackle. I don't know if you guys remember, because I wanted to do a little more research on him and see if I remembered what he was. I remember watching the Underwear Olympics that he was a part of, and if you don't know what Underwear Olympics is, it's the combine. And he had, by everyone's accounts, I know it doesn't matter. I just found this interesting. The worst combine of any player pretty much in history. Like, he is not the most athletic of tackles.
That means nothing to me.
My thought is, I don't see why you wouldn't go after, if you're going to spend all this capital, this first round 13th overall pick on this guy. I know he's proven and he's played in the league. Does that mean he's the right fit for us? I think the overwhelming consensus right now is like, go get him because everyone's talking about him. And I want to remind everyone, I did that last year with the Tua thing, and I'm not doing it again. I want to settle down and look at, like, does it make the most sense to bring in this guy to play left tackle, or does it make the most sense to keep our draft stock and bring in one of these? There's clearly a lot of talent on the offensive line in this draft. There's a lot of great guys that could be hits.
Could be busts.
And they could be busts.
Exactly. But you could also have a Jared Gaither situation where he comes in and sucks. He could have a Trey Turner thing where he comes in and sucks. It's a crapshoot, you know?
Right.
And you've got a lot of tape. I think that
You're a crapshoot.
Kyle, you fucking shut up. I just don't know if I'm fully on the Orlando Brown train.
I feel you.
I think there's more athletic,
I hear you, man.
more athletic tackles that we could get and not give up a first round pick for.
It's hard for me to say we're going to draft an offensive tackle, but I wouldn't be willing to give up that number 13 pick for a guy that's already proven that he can play offensive tackle.
But wouldn't you also want a guy that on a, more of his rookie contract than 1 year left on this guy's rookie contract, then you got to pay him? Wouldn't you want 3 more years? There's just so many other things that go into it than
but
just
he could be such a bust. Like, you just don't know. You don't know. So it's like, I'm more of a conservative person when it comes to investments.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather invest in a guy that I know is going to show up and day one is going to contribute and help us win a Super Bowl,
Right.
as opposed to invest in a guy that could be more athletic and could do really good, but also could be a nutcase and get his paycheck and go become an idiot. Like, you just don't know with some of the rookies that you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
He's also, you got to look at it this way. He's also demanding to be traded because he wants to play a different position. Is that the kind of character guy you want on your team, or do you want a guy that is willing to do what it takes? And if you're a Charger lineman, you're going to have to play in different positions.
You don't know
You're
that.
not locked into one position.
How do you know that Penei Sewell wouldn't do the same thing? Or Slater? Like, you could bring them in and be like, hey, you're going to be left guard. And they're like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm left tackle. They could do the same thing. That's just this generation of player.
I'm just voicing the idea that the reason he's even available is because he's demanding to play a certain position. That's all I'm saying.
If we didn't have Justin Herbert, say we had Tyrod all year, we didn't draft him, and Deshaun Watson became available to us, you wouldn't want him because he was demanding out?
I think it's something you consider. I think you're going to have to deal with that somewhere down the road.
Nah.
Kyle's not buying it.
What, you don't like my answer? You asked me a question, I gave you an answer, and you
He's
don't
not
like
I
it.
don't like it.
I just think it's something you
don't want
consider.
to. I just think you don't want to agree with me. I think that's what's going on right now.
It'll never happen. But what I was trying to say is that,
I'll
like,
never agree with you.
I wouldn't be. I'm voicing thoughts. I'm not saying that I don't want Orlando Brown. If they decide that he's the best option, they bring him in. Great. I'm just like, everyone is saying get Orlando Brown in here now. I don't know if that's the best thing.
I don't
if
either.
You could. So
I'm not
so
saying.
then why are you arguing
we're
with
on the
me?
same
God damn it!
page. We're on the same page.
What are we arguing then?
We each want to be right. I want you to concede.
Kyle likes to play devil's advocate. He likes to at least pose the idea of like, but what if this or what if that?
Right.
Fucking side are
I'm
you
not on a
Adam?
side.
He's very middleman.
I'm listening to both sides and I am taking bits and pieces from each one.
If anything, I'd like to think I'm devil's advocate and he's just being a negative Nancy.
No, you're a negative Nancy.
You're a little bitch.
down.
There's a title for this episode.
Calm
Negative,
down.
Kevin's a negative Nancy.
It's an interesting topic. I mean, again, these are all just rumors. We don't know what's going to happen. But yes, do you spend a first round pick? I mean, because it's not just spending a first round pick. Like, he's still going to need to get paid. So I don't know what kind of money that this guy is asking for.
No, he's on his rookie. That's why this is why this is so weird. Is because you're going to get traded a player in his rookie contract. That doesn't happen when he's like a star player.
And he's a stud.
It's because he's trying to force himself out of that position because he wants to play left tackle.
Because he knows he'll get paid more as a left tackle.
But then the next year, you're going to have to pay the shit out of him, as opposed to drafting a first round guy and you get 4 years of his rookie contract. That's what
if
I'm
it takes him 2 years to get there, and then you waste another Super Bowl? Tired of the Chargers wasting opportunity.
Let me get out my crystal ball. Give me a moment.
Yep.
It's inconclusive. I'm not sure. I think
Ask
I can
later.
agree with you on that. It's inconclusive. Yeah, ask later.
We'll see what happens, but it's an interesting topic. Obviously, a lot of people have some very strong opinions about it, but we'll see what happens.
I don't necessarily have a strong opinion on it. I just like to argue with Kyle a little bit.
Clear. That much is clear.
It sounds like we're on the same page.
We are very much so on the same page.
I've just known you for 30 years and you're a pain in my ass.
There
love
you go.
you.
Smooches. And let's see. As far as news, Mike Pouncey announced his retirement to the surprise of nobody. But he retired at the same day as his twin brother, Marquise
How
Pouncey.
cute is that?
That's adorable.
Came out of the womb the same
That is
day,
so
retired
cute.
to the NFL the same day.
Yeah.
That's like,
Man,
I wonder if
that's
they're wearing the
adorable.
same outfit. I know.
But I mean, we all kind of have. I mean, we didn't expect Mike Pouncey to be back next year, regardless. And just for
No,
him,
he played his
I
cards
wasn't.
right.
Yeah.
He showed up for a day. Oh, my neck. And then got paid the rest of the year. Now he's retired.
yeah.
Come on, Pouncey.
But he did give us some good
did.
seasons. So thank you for that. And good luck in your retirement. And enjoy your boat in Miami. Although wherever your Instagram was.
Wherever your boat shall
showing
take
you
you,
were at.
may,
Wherever your boat is.
may it bring
Yeah, wherever
safe
your boat
waters
is.
to you, Mike.
Good luck.
We wish you
Good luck.
nothing but the best. And then just today, folks, Manischewitz, this was a punch in the gut. We found out that Vincent Jackson, unfortunately, was found dead in his hotel room. Man was only 30. I can't believe he was only 38
Wow.
years old. That is
Yeah, it's
unbelievable.
that's so sad. And I think that it's still under investigation.
This is back-to-back weeks with Charger legend.
This has been a rough 2021 so far if you're a Charger
Jeez,
fan.
man.
Yeah, man. Vincent Jackson, I mean, dude's a 3-time Pro Bowler. Play with the Chargers, play with the Bucks, and man, just I can recall
He was such a force,
He
dude.
was-
He was such
he
a
was
force.
such a
he was a stud. He was a great wide receiver, and my memory of him is that he brought such fierceness to the team. He always was emotional. Didn't matter. Like he wanted to win. I mean, the guy had the biggest smile too. The guy just had a huge smile.
Yeah.
And it was just when things were going our way, it was great. And he was just such a great wide receiver.
I was so bummed when we lost him to the Tampa Bay, because that was kind of
I
the
know,
same
right
time
in
that we
his
lost
prime.
to LT.
Yeah.
We lost to LT, and then it was AJ Smith's like, how do you not bring him back?
know.
Like he was such a force. So it's so sad, and I'm worried that it's going to get sadder because they're talking about how he passed away in this hotel, but he had checked into the hotel a month prior and had been living there, and people weren't able to get a hold of him. And I'm just sad about the whole situation.
It's very sad.
Praying for his family. It's just really, really terrible.
100%. Friends and family. We pray for the Jackson family. There's been some really great tweets, I think, from Sean Merriman because they were part of the same draft class. Seeing Merriman tweeting about Jackson was just really, really quite sweet. And again, we don't.
And Nick Hardwick too.
And Nick Hardwick. It's just we don't know the reason behind it. Just that he was found dead in his hotel room. And God, 38. Just so sad to see a guy go like
So
that.
young.
Yeah, but our hearts go out to the Jackson family. Boy, from 2 weeks in a row, we go from sad
2 weeks
news.
in a row, you go from somebody dying to the coach's corner.
We don't.
Like, should we just
I don't
cut
write
this
the
whole
outline,
segment?
but I think I know which one of the brothers does. So
Yeah, Kevin's setting me up for failure.
I'm not doing
Like
it on
always.
purpose. It's just kind of where
it's just how the
falling.
outline goes. It is what it is. But this week for Coach's Corner, we're dipping our toe in a little early to our Ask Twitter section, which is technically for this one, it's going to be Ask Reddit. We look at Con Sean here, who asked a question. Coach, I got a question for you. It goes a little something like this. What players/positions do they need to get in free agency and the draft in order to effectively execute Staley's scheme?
You're right. All coaches
love
do chew tobacco.
A little something in my throat. Sorry about that.
Yeah. That's awesome. So yeah, I think moving forward with off season, since there's no games, we're going to take one of the responses from Twitter or Reddit, and I'll do a little bit of a deep dive for our Coach's Corner. So this one, it's a change. Obviously, there's personnel that needs to adjust. I think for me, as far as dealing with free agency, the draft, I think the guy that makes the most sense to bring over, he's a free agent from the previous squad that Staley made look really good. Kind of a under the radar name kind of guy that blew up with a really good season was John Johnson, a safety for the Rams. So what the difference between what Staley does and what we did previously is obviously the front. You have 3 defensive linemen, 4 backers versus 4 defensive linemen, 3 backers. But even more than that, they run a 2 high safety look a lot. So 2 high safety is there's 2 guys back deep about 10 to 12, sometimes maybe 8, but like 10 yards off the ball. You have to be comfortable playing half field coverage, which we didn't do. We just did not do that. Rayshawn, I think, has gotten a lot more comfortable because last year he had to come down and play strong safety a lot. Nasir has never done it, so I don't know what that would look like. So that scares me. Derwin can do anything, so he's set. He's solid.
As long as he's healthy, yeah.
And he who knows? He might not even be playing safety most of the time. He might be come down and be that outside linebacker sometimes. So I think bringing in a solid safety that has done it and is comfortable in a 2 high look. I think John Johnson is an awesome fill in instantly, and he could play right away. And like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of one year deal kind of guys because they need to prove they don't want to sign right now. No one wants to sign their long-term deal right now. I guess there's always ways to manipulate your contract where you get paid short up front and then more later on, which maybe that'll be the case with him. But I think we could see some weird stuff go on this year. I think John Johnson, for him, I think, hey, he goes, look, I had a breakout year last year. I'm going to go with Coach Staley. I'll sign my contract. I'll get paid later. And I'm going to go ball out. I don't have to move. Like he doesn't have to do anything to move his family at all. I think for me, that's the main guy that would be an awesome instant plug and play kind of guy. If you see that signing, it's not a good sign for Nasir Adderley. Because you bring in another safety. I think he's number 3 on the depth chart already as it is. But yeah, I think that's the guy, in my opinion, John Johnson's the guy that you want to go with just to plug and play, knows the defense, knows 2 high, knows cover 2, knows cover 4, can just go and run with it right off the bat day one.
Do you think he's somebody that would ask for a lot of money, or do you think that he's one of those players that wants to come and work for Staley just because, dude, it's Staley. Like, I already have experience with him.
No one's taking a pay cut to work for someone. They're all want to get paid. But I don't think he's top dollar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going to be paid as a top 10, top 15 safety in the league.
Okay.
So I think it's someone that you could get. What that looks like with moving people around, I don't know. But I think you get that piece, him with Derwin, Rayshawn, all the versatility you have moving around. I think it could be pretty big.
That sounds so good.
To kind of jump off on that, I think the interesting thing that I'd like to see Staley do, is that, we talk about the players / position, like where to go in free agency. I think he knows so much about defense, and he's worked with some great players along the way. I think free agency, the defensive side of the ball, might be the best move in terms of what our team should do. In terms of picking up some of these guys that maybe weren't the best players, but had really amazing years under Staley, that would be like, I want to go, get that back. I want to go earn that back.
Yeah.
And then address on the offensive side of the ball, you have a lot of draft capital, a first round tackle, first round guard, second round guard, third round center, third round more
backup
lineman,
guard, backup tackle.
That's it seems like there's just a lot of defensive players that might become available into this crazy year, and that might be the move that I'd like to see, at least. If you were to kind of like separate and kind of clean delineation of who do you want to focus on, what side of the ball, the more I would do more defensive free agents and more offensive draft picks.
It's a fair thought. So thank you, Kyle, for diving a little bit into that on Coach's Corner. As he mentioned, we will take Reddit questions or Twitter questions. And if you have technical questions, believe me, it's not me that's going to answer that question. And I don't know that Huggin really is capable of answering those either, but the coach is 100% capable of answering those kind of technical questions. So if you have them, don't be afraid to ask them. Just because we're shamelessly positive doesn't mean that we don't have a token coach that can answer these kind of questions. So
yeah, I'm a coach. I'm not an analyst.
There you go.
I just want to make sure that that's known. I'm not trying to be an analyst. I'm not going to analyze. I don't work for ESPN. I'm a fan of the Chargers, and I've coached.
But ESPN, if you're hiring,
that's my background.
Kyle's got an opening for you. So awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Con.
But if Staley, if you want a 30-year-old to bring that median down, I'm available.
Quality control. I think Kyle can make it happen. So
yeah.
Thank you, Con Sean. We'll get to everybody else's Twitter and Reddit questions here in a second. But we first need to look over to some of these interviews that we have lined up. These are some kind of exciting ones. What do we have this week, Kev?
Yeah, so this week we talked with Eddie Garcia. He's works for Fox Sports Radio, and kind of had a cool conversation with him about kind of the status of the Chargers and what we need to do to become relevant in Los Angeles.
I think that's a fair question.
So it was a good conversation. And he's also a kind of unique person to the podcast. Let's take a peek. All right, guys. We have a new guest today for one of our interviews. And today he is currently the update anchor and co-host of the overnight Ben Mahler show. And he's been the update anchor for the top-rated Clay Travis Outkick the Coverage show. I'd like to welcome Eddie Garcia to the Charger Chat pod. Thank you so much for coming on, Eddie.
Thank you very much for having me. You are my wife's favorite podcast of all time. Because I know you already know that, but she says hello, by the way.
Awesome. That was my first question, is like, we were introduced to you by one of our favorite people in the Charger community. So how did you meet Karen? I'd imagine it was something sports related.
She's a big sports fan, and she listened to sports talk radio a lot while she was single. And she listened to one of the shows I was on. I was working on the weekends for the Fox Sports Radio Network, and she was a huge fan of one of the shows I was on. And so she came to know me through that. I mean, I didn't really know her, but she also became really good friends with one of my coworkers who was also a huge Chargers fan, and her name was Karen also.
Nice.
So they became social media friends. The Karen I worked with had a birthday party and invited Karen, the Charger fan, the other Charger fan, my wife to be. And so we met at that birthday party, and it was really cool to meet a woman who was as much into sports as I was, especially football.
Sure.
So we had that, obviously that common interest, and then we just started hanging out, and then we started dating, and then eventually got married.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, she's one of our favorites. So you got a good one there. So tell us a little bit about how you've been involved with the LA sports community.
Graduated from Fresno State back in 1995, which is kind of a smaller college in Central California, which is where I was raised. Just like with any business, you meet people, and I went to college with a couple of guys that were natives of Southern California. When they graduated, they came back home looking for work, and I stayed in Fresno. I was working in local radio there for a few years. And at the time, it was a pretty volatile business. I worked for 3 different stations in 3 years. Wow. And they were working at Fox Sports TV. And, I kept in contact with them, and they were like, if you want, we could probably get you a job down here. And I'm like, you know what? I think I would like that. I'd like to try something different and new and move to the big city and all that. So I ended up getting a job at Fox Sports and working behind the scenes on a bunch of TV shows that no longer exist. They at one time, Fox Sports tried to compete with ESPN and had their own version of Sports Center and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I worked on those shows. It was cool. I got to meet a lot of, big people and all that stuff. But after a few years, they started up Fox Sports Radio Network, and my background was in radio. And I thought I would like to get back into radio. So, got connected through the people that and I've been there for almost 20 years now. It'll be 20 years in October, which is insane. But
wow, that's awesome! Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So the network's based in LA, but we have a local affiliate, which is AM 570, and through that, I've been able to be a reporter for the LA Kings. I'm a huge hockey fan, and so I do have like a local connection, even though what I work for is more of a national network.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm a huge King fan too. I played hockey pretty much my entire youth, so I'm all about the Kings.
Oh wow, well I like you a lot more now.
Yeah, I know, right?
Got some King stuff back here, but
nice. Yeah, so as someone with kind of their finger on the pulse of like LA sports, and the Chargers being kind of a newer LA team, like what do you think the Chargers have to do to become like one of the premier or competing to be one of the popular teams in Los Angeles, because it's such a oversaturated market? Like what do you think we need to do?
That's the easy question. You just got to win. I mean, look, I being an LA Kings fan, and that's the only local team I actually root for, I understand what LA fans are like. And there are some great hardcore fans. And being a Kings fan, I know that.
Yeah.
But there are also a ton of fans that just want to be entertained. And if the Chargers, look, Justin Herbert, fingers crossed, is going to be a great, great young quarterback for many years to come.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be someone who's going to attract fans. There's going to be kids who are going to love Justin Herbert and become fans of his. And if he has a career like Phillip Rivers had, as far as the longevity, and they win, they're going to get fans. I mean, that's the bottom line. And I mean, look, the Rams had a history here. They've come back. Some of those fans have returned. Some of them haven't. It is tough. They're playing in that amazing stadium, which is going to help. Like I said, Justin Herbert have us, the LA is about stars. It's true. If you have a marquee star player on your roster, that's going to get you a ton of attention. It's possible. Look, the Clippers have been here and have been the poor stepchild of the Lakers forever, and probably will be forever, frankly. But they get Kawhi Leonard, they get Paul George, they start winning, and suddenly, oh, look, they've got fans. So it's definitely possible for the Chargers. It is an interesting situation. There are some San Diego fans that will never want to root for the Chargers again, but there are some that are still, on the fence or that have decided they're going to stay. And if they become successful and win, I think you'll get some of those people maybe even to come back as well. So it's about winning. It's about having an entertaining product. If you do that, fans will come.
It's kind of interesting too, and to relate to Karen, like the one thing about the Charger fans that I'm noticing, having done this podcast for a couple of years now, is like these people are so diehard and they love their team so much. So even when we're struggling or making poor coach decisions, have bad players, like things are just not going our way, you still have people that are just, they're so happy about our team. So it's nice to see them welcoming, us welcoming fans in, and it's not like this, don't come hang out with us when we get popular kind of thing. So it's kind of nice to be a Charger fan in that aspect. So hopefully it'll keep growing.
I think I can definitely relate to that as a Kings fan, because there was a very passionate, loyal, hardcore base of Kings fans here. But until they won 2 Stanley Cups, it wasn't, as mainstream as it has become. So there's a definite kind of a correlation, I think. If the Chargers were to win a Super Bowl, Justin Herbert becomes one of the hot things in the NFL. Suddenly you're going to have tons of people that want to be interested. And I know as a Kings fan, and some other Kings fans push back against this, they didn't want the bandwagoners. They didn't want the people to jump on. I'm like, you know what? Everybody's welcome, but just once you come, stay.
Yeah.
I don't care how you became a fan. If you didn't become a fan until they became popular and they were winning, that's okay.
Yeah.
But now that you're here and you realize there's a great fan base here, it's an exciting product, then stay. And then I'm fine with that.
Put your seatbelt on, get comfortable. We'll be on this ride together, kind of thing.
We all come as fans from a different place. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But once you get here, stay. I'm fine with you being a fair weather fan, but I'm not fine with you being a bandwagon fan. If that makes sense, right? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You can jump on the bandwagon wherever you want, but you can't get off once you get on.
The whole goal that I want to see, and I'm tired of the narrative of like no one's going to the games. There's no Charger fans at games. And I went to a couple games when I lived in San Diego where it was still kind of the issue where you'd get like overpowered by fans. So I just hope that, we show up this year, this excitement, it starts bringing people to the stands and we can give our guys some home field advantage. That's what I'm really ultimately hoping for.
It's been eye-opening for me, especially being a Steelers fan and, going to the games and seeing all the Steelers fans show up or all the Packer fans show up or whatever.
Yeah.
And seeing my poor wife have to be a visiting fan in her home stadium.
Yeah.
That's
brutal.
Rough.
It's brutal.
It is. And she's handled it as well as she can, but having to sit next to opposing fans and having to hear them, I've felt for her. She's handled it probably better than I would, and not had it come back against the team. You know what I mean? Her loyalty and her love for the team hasn't wavered at all. But like I said, if this can happen and we can get SoFi filled with mostly Charger fans, and like I said, Justin Herbert makes them a very relevant team, I'll be so happy for her and for people like you that have gone through these times and can come out the other side and see this team get good again.
All right, man. Well, Eddie, thank you so much for coming on. It was wonderful talking to you. And, for our listeners, like, where can they catch your show? Some of the shows you do.
Well, I'm overnights on the Fox Sports Radio Network. It's the Ben Maller Show from 11 p.m. Pacific to 3 a.m. And then the Clay Travis I'll Kick the Coverage show is from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. So I'm all night here on the West Coast. So it's like if you're on the East Coast, the Ben Maller Show is kind of like a late night show, and then the Clay Travis Show is like morning drive. And if you're on the West Coast, it's kind of just the late night stuff. But anyway, it's Fox Sports Radio. It's XM, I think 142 or something like that. I probably should know that by heart, but yeah, I mean, any Fox Sports Radio affiliate across the country, if you want to listen overnight, we get some incredibly crazy callers. Guys, we go to callers and they're asleep. We go to callers, they're completely plastered. It's fun. It's definitely not your typical, Colin Cowherd or one of those type of shows. It's crazy. It's fun. It's different. And so it's a lot of fun. But yeah, thanks.
Well, congrats on your 20th anniversary, and keep rolling, and hope to see you at a tailgate here at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to being able to obviously be a fan again, get out to see SoFi. It looks amazing. And it would be great to see it filled with Charger fans and go watch Justin Herbert do his thing.
Sounds awesome. All right, well, say hi to Karen for us. He's awesome, right? Mr. Garcia.
Super cool.
First Pittsburgh Steelers fan on the podcast.
But with some great insight into the LA market and just the idea of being a fan in general for this kind of a team. And I haven't been to a Charger game in quite some, outside of the Kansas City game, which, you're surrounded by Kansas City Chiefs, but we had a lot of Charger fans. But going to a home game for the Charger team, you've been to that and you've experienced that, being the visiting team at a home game, like, I can't imagine. It does. So
something he was saying that kind of just struck me after listening, after doing the interview, is that he was saying that the Clippers are kind of the step brother to the Lakers. Mm-hmm. And interesting fact about the Clippers is they came from San Diego. Ooh. They were the San Diego Clippers. We were the San Diego Chargers. I hope we don't carry that tradition over and the step brother or the Rams. So just put that together. Kind of made me sad, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, I made myself sad. Well,
I know I made myself sad, but thank you, Eddie, Eddie. Much. We appreciate it, man, and taking the time. I know you're busy with all your professional broadcasts to do. So thanks for taking the time on a little Charger podcast.
All right. Well, now we've got our fan focus. And who do we have this week, Kev?
You know him from Ask Twitter. It is Bobby Calderon.
Bobby Calderon. Welcome, buddy.
All right. We are back with another fan focus. And this week we have Bobby Calderon on with us. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, cool. So big surprise. Where are you from, Bobby?
So I'm from Chicago. I grew up in Chicago, and the basically whole family's from here.
I love it, dude. We were just talking about this before we started recording. Like literally everyone is outside of California.
Exactly. Yeah. It's wild how many now that are, outside of state.
It's nuts. So being in Chicago, the Bears are like a big team there. So how did you become a Charger fan?
Yeah, so my whole family obviously diehard Bears fans. Like they live and die by the Bears. My dad especially, he loves the Bears. But when I was young, when I was really young, he would travel a lot for work. And one of his trips was to San Diego, and it was 2001. Drew Brees was just drafted. Obviously, LT as well. Brought back a Drew Brees jersey for me and a hat, and that's all a 6-7-year-old needs to become a fan at that time. I haven't looked back since then. He regrets it almost because he's like, we have this whole line of Bears fans in the family, and now we got one who has kind of gone off the side with this Chargers fanhood.
I love it, dude. Odd man out. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, once Drew Brees, hurt his shoulder and left, it was more of a decision of, do I follow Drew Brees or do I stay with the Chargers? And I think the choice was pretty easy. Drew Brees is awesome, but love the Chargers.
Double down on some Phil action.
Exactly.
That's awesome, man. Well, cool. Well, I'm glad you're representing out there. I'm sure it's not easy. We're going through this, Super Bowl week in Missouri, and it's just been it's shit show. So
I'm sure.
So we respect you for keeping it strong out there. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about like the few things we have look forward to coming up is specifically the draft. So, having watched the team this year, what do you think our biggest need is, and what would you like to see addressed in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, offensive line needs to be addressed, trapped, or, whether it's through trade. I know, Orlando Brown is kind of one player that, people are starting to look at for possible trades. I know Mike Williams is kind of in that, mix as well. I think obviously, offensive line is a need, a definitive need for this team. Depending on, where they go with Hayward and Davis, I mean, I would like them to re-sign Davis, but I'm just not sure if the money's there. And I think, cornerback's another kind of need for this team right now. And I think, those are the two that stick out. Justin Herbert corrects for a lot of the issues on the offensive side, which is, a huge, thing to have for a team. You have a player that can correct a lot of issues, whether it's even the line this year, they don't look as terrible when Justin's completing 65, 70% of his throws. So yeah, I think the needs are there, but I don't think it's, I don't think it's going to be necessarily difficult to film.
It's fascinating too, like the idea that this guy, one of the highest pressured quarterbacks in the league, throws 30 plus touchdowns, 4,000 yards, goes off last year. What
exactly
can this guy be with like one of the top 10 offensive lines? That's my question.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, totally. And then you see like his success rate under pressure is like almost better, I think, than when he has a clean pocket at times. So it's like, it's wild to think with a full off season, with a full offensive line, drafted there and filled there. I think, we'll see a lot more success behind in the pocket that's clean. And we want to, worry about him, rolling out and taking hits in the backfield.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting offseason with the whole cap this year and it going down. And like a lot of teams are going to have to like get rid of players they don't want to get rid of. What do you do in the offseason? Like as a Chargers fan, like I'm struggling right now. Like I can't, I'm not excited about the Super Bowl. I'm not like, what do you do to like keep your fandom going in the offseason?
I know. Luckily it's like, like something like, I'm trying to think. Last year, obviously Phil and Gates, they both retired. And the year before that, we're just coming off that huge success season. And there was a lot, so much excitement. This is like the first season now, there potentially wasn't as much going on, with the coaching change, obviously that changes things. And now there's excitement there. Feels like a breath of fresh air. Besides that, I just, double down on these podcasts, listen to as many as I can. And totally. I just try to stay, the cap situation's intriguing and, a lot of free agents that, could be here, could not be here, a lot of trade situations potentially. I think, unfortunately, not much besides that. I feel like March Madness is what keeps us going until we get to April's draft.
Totally. Yeah. It's the 6 or 7 months we have to wait. It's like, okay. Oh, big exhale. I got to wait for Chargers football again.
I know.
We'll get through it together.
Yeah. It'll be a good offseason. I think, the fans are in a much, you just feel, very happy going to next year, very, very ready for the next season. I think it's exciting.
It's interesting with like, ending the way we did, winning with the 4 wins. That's always refreshing. But then like all these new things, like there's nothing to really complain about yet as Charger fans because we haven't seen anything about this new team. So it makes everything a little easier until we start playing games in that aspect.
We don't know what to complain about yet.
Exactly. We don't even know what we're going to, there's nothing to complain about because we don't know. So it makes everything a little easier. But all right, Bobby, well, we appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Kid, love you. Bye.
Kid, love you. Bye. Bobby.
Kid, love you. Bye. It's just fun hearing.
That's how you know they're a fan, man.
It's fucking the best, dude. Yeah, we got a new hashtag. So if you ever want to tweet at us, it's KLU and then spell out by BYE. K like club. YE.
KLU bye.
KLU bye. That's our new hashtag we're going to start using because we just got to spread the love, man. Got to spread it around.
So something that Bobby brought up that was interesting to me.
Yeah.
The idea of where's Mike Williams in our radar? It seems like a lot of fans want him gone. They want to trade him, get him off the books, see what's available.
I think everybody is so afraid of the cap hit being lowered this year as far as what we can spend on players and his being as high as it is. it's a good chunk of change. So it's understandable. I don't think anybody wants him gone because he's a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. It's just we're limited on the amount of money that we can
get
spend
for him?
And what can we get for him?
And
what's our consolidated take as a Charger chat? Do we want Mike Williams gone, or do we think we stick?
Yeah, I know. I want him. I want a full off season with him and Herbert playing together.
100%.
I went back and watched. They had a super cut of all of Herbert's touchdowns, and Mike Williams had quite a few of those touchdowns and looked pretty good with some of the catches, and some of them he was wide open. Like he might not have had the best year what everyone expect out of a first round wide receiver, and he's going to get paid a lot of money with the franchise tag and all that. But you need to give him a full off season with Herbert just to. And if he's even better and we don't want to keep him around the year after that, his capital's even bigger. So I'd hate to like sell low when next year he could be amazing and have a breakout season with Herbert.
Yeah, I totally get the idea because I mean Herbert makes any wide receiver look good. So it's like whether it's Mike Williams or anybody else, like they're gonna play well. But I think Mike Williams brings so much more to the table as far as his height, as far as his hands, as far as his reliability on catching passes. I think that's incomparable to some of the other wide receivers that we have on the team. So I think, if you ask me, I would want to keep him. But if he does get traded or anything like that happens, I won't be surprised knowing the cap situation that we have to deal with this year. It's not the worst. I mean, if anything, it's probably one of the best, but it's still not like we don't have a ton of money to work with. We have some money to make some moves.
I don't think that's it. I think his money's already allocated to him. So I don't think that's an issue. I think the amount of money we have, I don't think the money's an issue for our team. We're one of the best. I think it's a matter of capital. It's like we want to try and get something for him in this weird year. I don't think it's a money thing.
Our money's good because we have a lot of free agents. It's only good until we decide who we're going to re-sign.
Right.
Like if we had all those guys under contract still, our money would not be good. And it's honestly kind of crappy that our year that they all come off the books is when our cap also drops,
At least we're not the Saints, man.
Yeah, Jesus. It's like 100 million over.
Cut a whole bunch of people.
Let's just be thankful that we're not the Saints. So awesome. Well, thank you, Bobby. Great to hear your voice, man.
Thanks, Bobby. Yeah, dude.
You were way off.
I know. I'm always way off on some of these. If I ever hear anybody do a fan focus and
someone comes
like
on a fan
voice,
focus,
oh my god,
they sound like Pee Wee Herman.
Like that would be frightening.
That'd be awesome. Next like fan focus has to try to impersonate one of your voices.
Good luck. Jeez. I mean, if my impression's already as off as they are, if somebody comes on and does a better impression than me, that's going to scare me. So please, just everybody use your regular voices, please.
Leave me this one thing, please.
Just give me this, please. Next, we move on to one of our old favorites. You know him, you love him. It's Craig from Texas.
Chargers Chat boys. It's your guy Craig in Texas. What's going on this week? JJ Watt, eh? Interesting. Will the Chargers make a move? They should. I don't know if they'll actually get the signing done, but they should at least make an attempt. I'm actually a big Leonard Williams guy myself, so we'll see what direction that goes. Quick story for you, though. We've been having some very weird winter weather here in Texas. And so I was in the grocery store attempting to stock up, apparently like the rest of everyone in my area, because there was next to nothing in there. And on my way to the checkout counter, I ran into a guy with a full Chargers get up on, man. I'm talking like beanie, sweatshirt, the whole deal. And so like under my mask, I yell out, "Bolt Gang." And I think I freaked him out for a second, but I explained to him, hey, I'm a huge Chargers guy. We got into a chat. And I guess long story less long, man, for all of those folks out there saying that Chargers fans don't exist, I keep running into random ones out here. So let's go ahead and kill that noise, right? So I don't really have a question this week. Looking for you guys' opinion on whether or not you think the team should go after Watt there, or if there are any other key players. I'm also a John Johnson guy. A couple other guys in free agency I think would be a really good move. So always interested to hear what you guys have to say. You know what it is. Bolt Gang or don't bang. Okay, love you. Bye.
Awesome. I just can imagine, honestly, if you could imagine, if you haven't seen what Craig looks like, if Craig wearing a mask yelled at me from across a a grocery store, I would shit
like a sleeveless tee.
Pants, man.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, dude.
Bulk
But I'm so glad.
God, what did I do? I'm sorry. I'd be don't bang.
Don't bang. That's the answer. Say bulk gang and then don't bang. That's the call and response. But
that is the proper response.
It's good to hear that there's fans in Texas and we're all running into them. I just ran into one in Missouri about a week and a half ago in the parking lot. Charger sticker. We both crossed paths and it was pretty great. So we exist. We just don't clearly, as you could tell by our podcast, there's not a lot.
We're just spread.
We're all over the country. It's just what it is. So.
We're all at least arm length away from each other.
Exactly.
We're socially
that's right. We are socially distant
across America.
But I mean, we talked about it earlier, man. JJ Watt possibility, John Johnson possibly. There's all these possibilities up in the air. Chargers seem like a good place to go right now as far as the coaching staff and who we've got already locked down. Something might look really good to some of these players.
Yeah, I would rather put the money like free agency in the defensive side of the ball. We just have so much so much draft capital right now. I think that I would rather have a young offensive line than an old shitty offensive line. So in my opinion, put the draft capital in your offense and any extra money you have for free agency type of guys. I think it's got to go. It's got to go with those couple of key spots on the defense that you need a little bit of depth in, like the safety, like the pass rusher. Kevin's got his hands up like he doesn't know what to do
I think
with his
he's
hands.
confused
what Ricky Bobby?
Because you just argued the hell out of him.
What
with Orlando?
And not only that, but I think you might have stepped away to check on your meat. But
I was devil's advocate,
made this
and that was
exact same point while you were checking on your meat. So we're on the same page. But
I wasn't here. I'm sorry.
Stealer.
Good.
What happened to the Bluetooth, bruh? What happened to the Bluetooth,
bro?
Bluetooth, bro.
Well, it only has a certain distance, Grandpa.
You need help. You need help figuring that out.
Yeah, stay connected.
I can help you figure that out when I come over to your house.
Far,
1 foot too far.
Yeah. So, but yes, I agree. Defensive side of the ball, free agents, draft 9 offensive linemen.
The only time we agree on something is when I'm not listening to what you're saying.
So you think it's your idea, and then I'm like, oh, great. Yeah, this is how it works.
And now that I hear that you liked it, I don't like that take
stepping back,
anymore.
aren't you? You're
mind.
stepping back away from it.
Yeah.
Draft capital on defense,
offense,
free
everything.
agency, office.
Yeah,
100%. Need a new quarterback too.
Oh, get out of here now!
You stop that.
You knock it off. All right, Craig. Great to hear from you, buddy.
Thanks, Craig.
Always a pleasure to hear from you. Now we look over to our Ask Insert Social Media Chain section now, since we've branched out to Reddit.
We need a new name for this. We need a new name for this segment. Ask Twitter doesn't work anymore because it's not just Twitter. So if you have an idea,
if you
throw
have
it at
a
us.
better idea, yeah, we're always open to change. We are a young coaching staff here at Charger Chat. We are always
we have
open
a lot
to new
of
progressive
ideas on the forefront. Yeah, exactly.
and at least some of us know how to use Bluetooth.
Analytics, bring it.
If you've got ideas, shoot them our way. We'd love to hear them. We already kind of touched on Con Sean, so now we're going to move it on down to Used VCR, who asks the question.
Do you guys think we end up tagging Hunter this year? I was hoping that we would secure a long-term deal with him by now. I'm getting too old.
I think, doesn't it make sense, Kyle? You tell me what you think. I want to start agreeing with you a little bit before we close out this episode.
I want to find some common ground with my brother here before we end this episode.
Yeah. So Hunter Henry, wouldn't it make sense for him to? What do you think? Because this year they can't spend a lot. Would you tagging him this year and paying him that money for that compensated draft pick or whatever? Would you rather do that or get him outright and lock him in?
Yeah, there's just more flexibility with a long-term deal. If you tag him, you're going to pay him that fat chunk this year, no matter what, and that's going to hit your cap. If you sign him to a long-term deal, you can structure it in a way that it doesn't all hit our cap this year, and I think that has to be the play. Especially as we've already done it once, so it's going to be that much more that we have to pay him if we tag him again. So I think if you're going to keep him, it's going to be on a long-term deal, and it'll be structured in a way that we don't have to take a huge cap hit this year. So if he doesn't get signed to a long-term deal, I think he's going elsewhere.
I hope they get that shit done soon. That's my top priority. So hopefully they do it.
Yeah, I think that was one of the interesting things that you mentioned, or at least, Kevin, you sent us that article from Dan Popper as far as breaking down the cap, that when we sign these guys to longer deals, they don't necessarily take a big chunk on that first year. That first year can be kind of small. And then with this, you're having a lower cap. We can sign Hunter Henry to a long-term deal where he does get paid well, but he doesn't necessarily take that big chunk up front. So I'm with you, Kyle. I think anything that can save us some cap room this year to spend and just kind of spread it out as best we can, I'm all for it.
Fiscally responsible Wolldog. I like it.
Fiscally responsible Telesco is more like it.
So thank you, Used VCR. Good to hear from you. Next, we've got A. Collins32, who asks the question.
Being through free agency or trade, who is one player you'd be most excited to get on the team, and who is the one you'd be least happy with? Get yourself some foot-long Dodger dogs tonight at Dodger Stadium. That was my Vince Scully giving you the foot-long hunt dog.
That was solid, bro.
I think through free agency, the one guy wants John Johnson, safety for the Rams. And the one guy I'd be least happy with is Trey Turner still being on our team.
Ooh, good call.
I'm going to go with J.J. Watt and Trey Turner. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Yes. Common ground. Trey Turner. Don't want him.
Oh, my God. We agreed on something.
It happens every now and then.
32,
Put it in your journal. Make sure you write it down before you go to bed, sweetheart.
Okay, moving on. We've got C. Densley 11 on deck, who asked the question. It's unlikely Sewell. Bitch. Hey, Google's.
That was your cat. I was like, wow, what have you been teaching it?
Shut your fucking mouth.
You got to leave this in.
You got to leave that in, yeah.
Hey, Google, pipe down.
Nothing's playing right now.
Bitch.
You're really good at technology, bro.
Bluetooth.
Your Bluetooth is on fire right now. This is our technology episode,
bitch.
Oh my God. All right. C. Densley 11 coming in hot. All right, stop it. It's unlikely Sewell or Slater make it to 13. If we're on the clock and no one excites us, what if we trade all the way out of the first round, giving us multiple 1s and 2s in 2022? With new schemes on both sides of the ball, our current perception of team needs may change dramatically, and that would give us the capital to go all in for 2022, when, hopefully, there's a full season of tape on all college prospects. There might also be solid value OTs on day 2 this year with guys like Cosme, Vera Tucker, and others sliding in some mocks.
I'm going to give you a really dumb answer. Let me just go first because we can get serious.
Yeah.
The really dumb answer is no, because I want to watch the draft on the first day and have
Selfish
a new
reason.
player at the end of the day. It's like that's like the dumb reason. Like I want to have a player in the first round of the NFL. That's I don't know. I don't think we already have 9 picks this year. We have a lot of picks, a lot of capital. We're trying to win now. I get what you're saying. If you see some we get a whole bunch of seconds, but I'm not trying to push them to 2022. I'm trying to get capital this year. That's my thought, at least.
I'm hoping that we don't draft inside the top 25 for the next decade.
Yeah, let's get our 13.
No, like we had a weird, crappy year where we still have a decent pick. Now, that's not to say that you don't capitalize on it and turn it into a bunch more. I understand the logic behind it, but I think this year of all years, you need to take advantage of the draft. We don't have a cap, so we can't go after a bunch of free agents. So you need to take advantage of these cheap contracts. Even if it's a first round pick, it's a cheap contract compared to a free agent. We have holes that need to be filled, whether they're offensive line or somewhere else. That 13 pick is vital. If you want to trade back a little bit because you go back 4 or 5 spots and you pick up a third rounder, that makes sense because the draft capital is so valuable this year with the cap space. But I don't see moving back to 2022 because in 2022 the draft picks become less valuable because the cap's going to go back up, and free agency will be a whole new beast next year. So I don't see us doing that. If they did it and they explain that logic to us, they'd be like, okay, there's a purpose behind it. But I hope that doesn't happen, and I don't see that happening. I think at 13 you can get a franchise guy that's with you for his career at 13.
100%.
And look, if Slater doesn't make it to us at 13, there's no way Vera Tucker or Cosme make it to us in the second round. Because if that's the case, that means tackles are going, and they're going to start going quicker.
They're going hot.
You're going to miss. You're going to have to, if that's your worry, you're going to have to reach a little bit or slide back just a little so you can still get one of those two guys later in the first. So it's hard, man. I don't know the perfect answer. In my mind, you have to take advantage of that 13 pick this year.
Agreed.
100%.
If not, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to kind of jump up to try and target one of those tackles. That's my point of view. I'd go the other way, not back.
If anything, trade up maybe a space or two just to ensure that we get somebody that we could go at. Like if Sewell's sitting there, and the 10th pick is coming around. We don't know. We won't find out until draft day. But either way, see, Densley, we understand where you're coming from. We respect the thought, but we'd rather see these guys take advantage of that pick.
Well, yeah, and Kevin also wanted Tua over Herbert, so you gotta take that into account.
See, you're just upset that I talked about your diary. Do you want me to stop talking about your diary,
Kyle?
Kyle?
Diary, dude. People don't need to know I have a diary.
I'm gonna post a picture of what it looks like. It's got like unicorns and shit and rainbows. So you guys will get that on our Instagram.
Tua Tagovailoa
follow us over there.
We don't need to talk about that tramp stamp you have. Tua for life.
Now we're just making shit
Tua
up.
or bust. Yeah. All right. See, Densley, we love you. Thank you for coming around. Oh boy! Next we've got Doggy who asks a question.
There he is.
How many linemen would you ideally want the team to draft? I feel the number should be between 2 to 4, so we can use the other picks to address the other positions like the defensive line, edge, and corner, especially since there would be a lot of corners around the 3rd and 4th round like Paulson, Adebo, Efitu, Melifonwu, and Trill Williams.
I think you're making up these names, Okie Doggy. I don't know who these. I think you had a stroke and you just mashed the keyboard.
But in terms of linemen, like I'm thinking you need to address every position. So tackle, guard, center. So you need at least 3, in my opinion, to like shore up the depth. That's what I want to see offensive linemen.
Yeah, at least 3. And if more, that'd be awesome. But yeah, you're gonna see one go in the first. Then either 2nd, 3rd, and then we have 2 3rds. There's an extra pick for Desmond, an extra pick for Phil. So, yeah, I think you take advantage of those 2 extra picks, pick up 2 more linemen. So 1st, 3rd, and then that 4th, 5th kind of range. You got to have 3. We need depth, man, and we need to start building. Like we've missed hard on linemen lately. It's just not good. So we need to start investing in that early in the draft. It just becomes such a big deal for the future and for the present, the offensive line.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think really it should be 3. I was going to say, like, if they get 2, I'll be pretty happy about it. I mean, I'll be reluctant, but at least I think 2 is the minimum, but 3 would be comfortable. 4 would be amazing. If we draft 4 linemen, I'm going to be pretty excited.
1, 2, 3, 4
in Chargers history.
1, 2, 3, 3. 1, 2, 3, 3.
We draft a quarterback before we drafted 4 offensive linemen.
So we'll see what happens on draft day, but okie doggy, good to hear from you.
Stop.
Next, we've got Sailor Elzami. I recognize that name to ask a question.
Not so much a question, but I'm feeling super pumped about Staley the more I hear him talk. Do you think he'll live up to what he did with the Rams, or are we doomed to have the Spanai ruin another coach?
Oh man, I'm riding on the super positive train right now. So if you're going to ask me, I'm just going to have to tell you I think he's going to be fine and do really great and pick up where he left off last year. But the Spanai have done crazier shit to us.
We're not pro Spanai. I don't think we're San Diego Charger fans, so none of us are pro Spaneye.
I don't know many people that could be pro owner. Yeah.
It's hard to love them,
but
I would say.
I don't know if the Spaneye have. I'm trying to like Marty's the one coach that I can think like they didn't give him control and they may have wasted opportunity with
I'm
him.
putting that on AJ. I don't know how much I'd put that. I don't know. I don't know enough about
the
it.
The Spaneye own the team. It still runs through them. They hired AJ. But I'm just trying to think of like who do they ruin as a coach? I don't know. I don't know if they've ruined any of these coaches. I think they hired the wrong coach a lot of times.
I think that's more it than anything else. Yeah.
So I think that they hired the right coach. If that's what we're asking, I think we hired the right guy for our organization right now and the shift that needs to happen. I think we have the right guy. So I'm equally as excited every press conference we hear him talk. To be a head coach, you have to be a communicator and you have to like inspire people to want to run through a wall for you. And that's what he's done so far in these press conferences. He's gotten everyone excited. The fan base is pumped. He's a great communicator. We know kind of what his vision is. So yeah, I think everyone's excited about Staley as a head coach.
I concur.
Holy crap. What's happening tonight? All these, me and Kevin agreeing on stuff? Concurring? This is weird. Twilight Zone.
All right. Thank you, Sailor Elzami. Next, we've got Spalox, who apparently doesn't have a question. He just has something to say.
I don't have a question, just a wish that DJ33 stays healthy all year. Please, I'm getting ya. Oh, yeah.
I like it.
That's
so
good.
Much.
Yeah, I also want to see DJ play.
Yeah, I don't. Every Charger fan wishes DJ stays healthy. We mentioned it last week. We're thirsty for Mr. Derwin James. So please come back healthy next year.
No. to quote you, you're thirsty for the
if
D.
If they didn't hear it, they can go back to the last
D.
episode and listen to it. Otherwise, I plead the fifth. All right. Getting out of Reddit, diving into Twitter. We start off with JP, a.k.a. Jesse O, who asked the question. All right, bros, here's the deal. Would you guys rather draft all defense or, hear me out, all offense? And do you guys think not having a combine will result in more hits or misses? Yeah, right, yeah. I think that's an it. I mean, it's an it. Obviously, we don't think these guys are going to draft all offense or all defense. So this is just like, hey, would you rather?
It's a fun
would
idea.
You rather?
To play this hypothetical fun little game that you set up for us, Jesse. I'm going to go with offense. I'm going to go with the offensive line. And just kind of offense. Our offensive line is so egregious. And I in that fun game, I'd go with offense.
Yeah, if we drafted 9 offensive linemen, I wouldn't be pissed. I would not.
You're going to hit on a couple of those guys.
Yeah, you're going to hit on a couple. So I think if you have to, if I have gun to my head, you have to pick all offense or all defense, I would go all offense because my hopes is it's all offensive line.
Yeah. What if you just you hit 5 out of the 9 you hit on 5? Like that'd be a great average.
That would be awesome.
And then you have a new offensive
5
line.
guys on rookie contracts, and you're gonna have some. You're gonna have to deal with some shiz in like 4 years when they're all come off contract. Right. Your cap
that's fine. That's 5 years down the road. We don't have to worry about it. We'll let the Saints worry about that.
And your second question was the idea of the combine. Will it result in more hits or misses not having a combine? I think it'll be more hits. I think the small school guys get kind of screwed, but I think that there's more hits. You don't get so blown up. People don't jump up mock drafts because they ran a 40 or benched a bunch. I think the Orlando Browns get drafted a lot higher and they're actually good football players. So I think it's going to result in more hits and less misses.
Yeah, they're not drafting somebody because they've got an extra inch on their wingspan.
Or their hand is an extra quarter of an inch.
Yes. All right. Thank you, JP.
I concur.
All right. We get it. You concur. Next, we've got Mark, a.k.a. Mark _M_3, who asks the question.
So, many of our games look very winnable this season. What are your record predictions based off current rosters? Also, what is your top draft scenario for the first round? Mine would be to trade back a few spots and take Vera Tucker.
I'm going to go with 11 wins. 11-5. I think that's our record next year, and we'll be in the playoffs. And that'll be a good start off to Staley's career. I think that's a reasonable expectation.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think we don't know what our roster is. Like what we have now, we have like 40 guys. So we're pretty short on roster depth to be able to assess what we're going to look like. But with the squad, like the core that we have with Justin Herbert, with Derwin James, with Joey Bosa, with Keenan Allen, I think we're 10, 11 wins for sure. And if you squeak out a couple more, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think that I just don't know. Like, I don't know if we're in a spot where you're going to be able to draft or move back in the draft and pick up a lot. Like, who's going to land at 13 that someone's going to be like, I have to move up to get this guy right now? You know, like, I just don't know if there's those guys right now. There's not unless a quarterback falls for some weird reason and someone needs it. I just don't see anyone moving up to 13, but you never know. Weirder things happen. But I think if Slater's there, you take him.
100%.
If he's not, you look at trade options. And if you can get Vera Tucker 5 or 6 picks back and you really are convinced you can, then great. But if you do that and you don't hit on tackle, you become public enemy number 1 for Coach Duggan.
Yeah, I think for me, number 2 tackle is Rashawn Slater right now. So if he does fall to us, I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, you got to take that. We just watched a hype video on Slater, and he just looks too damn good. And I would rather him on the team than anybody else.
He was handling Chase Young. They showed some college tape of him playing against Chase Young, and he was handling him. So that was very it's the athletic kind of tackle I'd like to have on our team with great hands. So that's my ideal first round draft pick is Rashawn Slater.
Pretty pleased with sugar on top. Thank you, Mark. Next, we move on to Tyler Foffey, a.k.a. the Iowa Bolt Fan 54, who asked the question, what do you think will play opposite of Bosa? Do we have this player on the team, or do we need to look for them? If not on the team, what are some names we should keep an eye on, possibly as a good fit?
Love you, bye. He used the hashtag. Awesome.
This is a super hard question. I think, like, to tell you who's on the roster right now that plays opposite Joey, like, I don't know. It's like Isaac Rochelle, Jerry Tillery. That's like the thought is it's one of those two guys. And am I hyped on that? No, not really. Like, it doesn't sound like an exciting prospect, especially knowing that I don't know. Like, it's just, that's hard. So I think you gotta get someone. I just don't know what that looks like. I really don't. But right now on our current roster, Rochelle Tillery is the guy playing opposite Joey Bosa.
Rochelle, I think, was one of the free agents, wasn't he?
Yeah, he is.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Rochelle is.
Because he was one that I mentioned wanting to come back. He very well might come back. I mean, he probably would pull in a cheaper dollar amount than Ingram. But I've even seen possibilities of Ingram coming back. Like, that's not totally ruled out of the question. We're all expecting him not to. And so if he doesn't come back, we're not stung by it. But he very well could still come around next year.
Yeah, man. I don't know who that guy is opposite Joey Bosa right now. It's got to be Tillery. If that's the mind of the Chargers, if that's what we go forward with what we have now. But that's got to get addressed. It's got to be addressed in some way, shape, or form. But oh God, I didn't even realize how poor we were at that defensive end spot. God,
thanks, Tyler.
Thanks a lot, Foffey.
That was one thing.
You got foffed.
You just got foffed. Yeah, I think if we can, I mean, honestly, I'd like to see Isaac Rochelle come back. I'd like to see Melvin Ingram come back. I don't necessarily want to see Tillery on that side of the ball, but with how good Staley is as a coach and how much he's been touted as being the defensive wonderkin and turning players that have been mediocre into these phenomenal stars, we're still waiting to see Jerry Tillery become that. I mean, this guy was the first round pick when we drafted him. he still has yet to prove to be that first round pick that we all expected him to be. Has he been utilized correctly in the past under other coaching staff? Don't know. But if anybody's going to make him shine, it could very well be Staley. So that could potentially be the guy. I don't think that's outside the question. We have to let some free agency, we have to let some draft happen before we can start, making some really much more definitive choices. Because again, there's just too many holes that need to get filled on this team that without them being filled, we got to fill them holes, baby. So let's plug them up.
Shut up.
All right. Thank you, Tyler. Always good to hear from you. Next, we've got Ross Morrow. I know that guy. Ross Morrow 10, who asked the question.
Guys, how about some way too early predictions for breakout players on offense, defense, and special teams for the 2021 season?
Nice. Hi, Arnold.
Kevin, who are you thinking?
I'll take offense. I think just with our Lombardi and where he's coming from and having how he's utilized Kamara and how that all went down in New Orleans, I think Austin Eckler is primed to be one of the top running backs in the league. Not only rushing, but out of the backfield. I think his production on catching balls out of the backfield are going to be even higher than they were in his previous season. So that's my big time early prediction for a breakout player on offense.
For sure. I wouldn't rule that out. Who are you thinking on defense there, Coach?
So it's a guy that's not necessarily like an unknown, but had kind of a quiet year last year, but has a lot of familiarity with the coaching staff. And I think they're going to be able to get the most out of him. And that's Chris Harris Jr. I think he's going to have a huge year next year, being with guys that he's comfortable with. He played for Staley in Denver. He also, our special teams coordinator, was his coach. I think there's just some familiarity there. They know what Chris is best at. They're going to put him in spots to succeed. I think he's going to have a breakout year. As long as he can stay healthy, I think he's going to have an awesome year next year.
I think that's very possible.
You want to take special teams, Bulldog?
I'll take special teams. I think coming back fresh from his injury, I think Drew Tranquil could possibly be that guy on special teams that, we didn't get to see him last year because of that terrible injury that he suffered, but we saw flashes of it in his rookie season. So I think getting him back as being that third-year player, already familiar with the team and just, back playing fresh and playing with a new special teams coordinator, I think he could potentially be that guy on special teams that we see shine. And maybe as a 1B, again, we don't know if he's going to be around, but maybe Michael Badgley. If Michael Badgley is still here next year, son of a bitch better hit 99% of his kicks. He better miss one kick, and he could potentially be that breakout special teams player. So great question, though. Thank you, Ross. Good to hear from you. Bobby Calderon, son of a bitch, we just interviewed you, but you're asking us a question anyways.
Hey, double
dipped Bobby Calderon. He asks the question.
Thoughts on the running back position going into next year? How confident are you in JJ and JK in complimenting Austin? I don't see Balaj coming back. However, I do think when healthy, JJ brings a lot to the table.
For those who don't know, JJ, Justin Jackson, and JK, Joshua Kelly.
Yeah, I've not really, Jackson just hasn't done anything because he's been hurt so much. He's had a couple good games, but I just don't really believe that he's the guy to.
We don't see the consistency.
Not even close. And the thing about the Joshua Kelly situation, which was so weird, is that he came out of the gate looking amazing.
Looked great.
And then they really, I don't know what happened. I don't think his skills diminished.
He had a fumble or something.
Yeah, he had a bad fumble, and I think that Lynn kind of put him in his bad spot.
Yeah. That's what I was going to. They put him in the doghouse. I just don't think they gave him the opportunity to get out of it. So I'm more excited about Kelly than I am about Jackson. But I think they're gonna have to bring, if they don't sign Balaj, which he's a big, powerful back, and he was fun to watch. And I think he stepped up when we really needed a running back. I think it is good chance we're probably going to bring in somebody else, whether that be draft or a free agent.
Yeah, I agree. I think Josh Kelly's I think he's a good prospect. He's a rookie last year. Justin Jackson didn't do anything in his rookie year. That's a hard transition to go from for a running back to jump up to the NFL level. And he showed some signs of being a good player. I think he got in his head after a couple bad fumbles. I don't think Anthony Lynn being a running back and being his head coach was easy on him. So I think that's tough. Justin Jackson, I think we've seen enough. We've seen 3 years of him. He's under contract this year. I don't know if they cut him, but I don't think he's the future of the running back position for the Chargers. So I do think that somebody gets brought in, whether they bring back Balaj. I wouldn't be upset about that. But there's a lot of free agents, man. I just popped it up. Kenyon Drake, Todd Gurley, Mark Ingram, Tevin Coleman, James White, Matt Breida, Mike Davis, Rex Burkhead, Carlos Hyde, Leonard Fournette, there's TJ Yeldon, Dion Lewis. There's a lot of unrestricted free agents this year. And they all know that the cap's gone down. So, I mean, you have to understand as a running back right now, you can't demand a lot. There's the price tag for a running back is not huge right now. Melvin Gordon. And so, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of options out there, and there's still running backs coming out in the draft that you could get late. You don't have to go first round and get a good running back. So there's one running back missing in our squad. I'd like to get a guy that could maybe play special teams too, that kind of gritty kind of guy. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I do think though that they're looking for one. Justin Jackson is not the future. I think this is his last year with the squad, unless something big blows up with him this year.
100%. Awesome. Well, thank you, Bobby. You double dipping son of a who.
Thanks, Bobby.
Good to hear from you.
Chicago Bobby.
Chicago Bobby.
Next, we've got Gnarly Ray Jepson, who asks the question.
A big factor to the Bucks beating the Chiefs was veteran players that played smart and didn't overcommit on plays. How important is it to bring back Melvin Ingram? Granted, he had a bad year, but he always does the dirty work for the defense. How much would you pay him?
I just want to jump on the first thing. The reason why the Bucks did what they did was because of Tom Brady. Some of the guys they brought in, it was just he called some of his buddies Antonio Brown, and they got Fournette, and they got a whole bunch of random guys that probably would never have gone to that team otherwise. So without Tom Brady, you really don't have a lot.
But their defense was not veteran led. Like Ndamukong Suh, but Antoine Winfield Jr., he's a rookie. Devin White, second year guy. Like they were not extremely old on the defensive side of the ball. I think, on the offense, they brought in huge free agents. That's not the recipe for success in the NFL. That's never what the Patriots do. If you want to be consistent and long term with success, you can't build around free agent veterans. It's hard to take that carbon copy and then to make that happen on your team, because that's not the normal what Tampa Bay did this last year.
I think, as you mentioned there, Gnarly Ray, that Melvin didn't have a great year last year. I think if anything, that could potentially bring his price tag down just at least a little bit to possibly afford him to come back next year and still be, because we saw some great flashes of him being a great leader on Hard Knocks. I think he brings a lot more than just being that defensive end, complementing Joey Bosa. So I'm not opposed to bringing him back next year. As far as how much we pay him or, dollar amount, I don't know what a good defensive end is going for these days, but if we threw $4 million on him,
he's just not coming back.
There's no fucking way.
There's no way they're bringing Melvin back. It just doesn't fit in the scheme now either. He's not an outside linebacker, and he's not a DN/D tackle in the 3-4 defense. I don't see us paying that prime money for.
So he's gonna be looking like what, 10? Probably what he's gonna be wanting.
Yeah,
somewhere in that range.
Yeah. So I don't see it happening.
I've kind of come to terms with the fact we're probably moving on from him, and that we're gonna pick up a younger person that can play in space a little better and drop into coverage and do some of the things that Staley's defense is gonna want.
Yeah, I think it's his fate is decided. I think Melvin's moving on to not greener, but different pastures, I guess you would say.
We'll see. If I get some breaking news that Melvin Ingram is re-signed with the Chargers, I'm gonna be rubbing your fucking nuts in it.
I'm not gonna be mad.
I got a $100 bill for you if he signs for $4 million for the Chargers.
I don't know that he'll sign for $4 million, but I'm just saying if he re-signs with the Chargers, don't be surprised if it happens.
I'll be
I was like, what am I hearing in my headphones?
That was me pondering.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Gnarly Ray. And last but not least, it's Daniel Llewellyn coming back with another hot question. And it goes a little something like this.
Ty Long, good or bad? He's a punter, so likely not even human. But what are your expert opinions on keeping him around or letting him take the long and lonely walk into oblivion? In my opinion, this team values versatility, and he may be better than the Peso Rabbit at place kicking.
Peso Rabbit is hilarious.
Okay, I want to unpack this real quick. So for me, Ty Long, like the versatility, having a punter that's versatile and can do other things, sure, that's great. But we shouldn't have a place kicker that needs somebody to kick off for them. Ty Long is fine. I'd have to look at the stats specifically, but I think the more the issue on the special teams is the Peso Rabbit. And Peso Rabbit can't kick the ball off.
Right.
If Ty Long could just practice punting instead of having to also kick off half of his time there at practice, maybe he'd be a better punter.
Peso Rabbit.
Peso Rabbit, Money Badger. Love it. Seagull, Hawkeye, whatever last week's Twitter was.
Daniel's got hot questions.
He's on fire.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it.
But yeah, I don't think that, I don't know. I think there's going to be a major overhaul in the special teams unit. I don't know if Ty Long or Money Badger stick around.
Yeah, I think there might be a move at kicker. Honestly, I still don't see how you have your punter kicking off, punting, and your kicker only does field goals, and he doesn't even make them all, and he just had a really bad season. I think you could move on and find a better kicker. Honestly, sorry, Peso Rabbit.
I'll try.
Coach will take a shot.
I'll try hard.
I'll give you my best, Coach.
I'll try really hard.
I'll try.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'd love to keep Ty Long around. He's great to have as that backup, and no reason why we shouldn't keep him around in case our kicker, has an issue.
Sign him to one of those quote unquote futures contracts, whatever the hell that means.
I'm fine with that.
Whatever that means.
And yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people talk about still work on Badgley, still give him a shot. Man, dude, you can't have the last year that you did after being with the team for 3-4 years and expect to come back. Like that just doesn't seem feasible. So, I mean, I think Badgley's a great guy. I would love for him to be good, but you can't, I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Not right now.
But right now he's worth about a peso and a rabbit. So we'll see if he takes that offer. I doubt it. But thank you, Daniel, and thank you to everybody in the Ask Twitter and Reddit section. We really appreciate it. You guys make this episode about a half an hour longer than it really should be, so we thank you for that. And you spark a lot of great conversations and arguments for that as well. So thank you. And that's going to do it for us here, I think, at Charger Chat, folks. Don't forget to bolt up because we're ready for any squad, any place.
Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, love you, bye.
And now, a word from our sponsors. Technology advances so fast these days, it can be scary and confusing, especially if you're 37 or older. It can be hard to keep up. Thanks to a new advancement in technology, Charger Chat is proud to introduce the iRivers. iRivers handles your day-to-day activities, and what's better, it's voice-activated. Just say, "Hey Rivers." Hey Rivers, can you read me my emails? Hey Rivers, what's on the agenda for today?
Easter egg hunting, Landrum, dadgummit.
Hey Rivers, what airline is my flight on?
Delta!
iRivers can even set a morning alarm for you.
Run! Hey, run!
I'm up.
Hey, run!
I'm up.
Run!
I'm up.
Run!
I'm up.
Hey, run!
Stop.
Run!
I'm up.
Run!
I'm up.
I'm just having fun.
iRivers, the best dadgum piece of technology you'll ever need.
Hey, quit talking to my helmet, whoever that is. Quit!